Hello and welcome back to another week of Sambo iRacing. It's week 11, season 1, 2024. We are in the Racing Formula Ford FF1600 at VIR for their full course layout. Now, this is a wonderful track, absolutely great track for racing. It's going to make for a really good week, and it's my favorite week in the schedule. What to remember about VIR? Well, you're just going to have to go balls out because it's very slidey. There's some incredibly high-speed straights. It's going to be wheel-to-wheel racing like you would not believe, and it's going to be a lot of good fun. Do make sure that you read the guide or watch the guide and do some practice laps beforehand, because it's always better to be at the front of the pack where you're less likely to be involved in someone else's accident than you are starting at the back. Goes without saying. But other than that, it is going to be long enough so that you can make some passes and you can recover from any errors in qualifying. Anyway, let's get in the car and actually run through it. Righty-ho, let's give this a go. So, moving slowly across over onto the left-hand side. And what we're looking for is just after the 2 marker. So literally a beat after you've passed the 2 marker. We're going to be braking really quite hard in a straight line in 4th gear. And I brake up to 90%, 96%. So yeah, I'm giving it basically everything on my brake in a straight line, dropping it down into 3rd. And I'm still going in a straight line here. So I'm not putting any steering on whilst I'm at 100% or full brake. And then as I start turning towards the apex, I'm going to trail the brake off, dropping it down into 2nd, and then dropping it down again into 1st at the apex. So I'm fully getting back on the throttle at the apex, holding it over to the right-hand side, up to 2nd, up to 3rd. Now what we're looking for here, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but you'll see it on your monitor. So there's a big light patch on the right-hand side of new asphalt. And before that, there's some dark braking markers or braking patches where people have obviously been putting some rubber down. So I'm in 3rd gear, and as I get to that, or just before that light patch, when I'm on the dark patch, I'm going to brake briefly up to about 2/3. I'm leaving it in 3rd, and I'm balancing the car between the brake and the throttle as I'm looking for the apex. Holding some maintenance throttle on. I'm no longer on the brake now at all, dropping it down to 2nd gear. And then at the apex, I'm fully back on the throttle in 2nd gear. Your car's going to drift out wide. I leave it in 2nd gear and just rev it out here rather than change up to 3rd. And then what I'm looking for here is just after the grass starts, or just where this green asphalt ends, I'm going to brake briefly up to about 2/3 pressure, leaving it in 2nd gear, trailing it off, and getting back on the throttle. So a little bit of maintenance throttle, but getting back on fully on the throttle, taking a ton of curb here on the left-hand side. And I'm fully back on the throttle. Little lift around here, only a little lift, very briefly up to about half. And now fully back on the throttle. No more lifts, taking the curb up to 3rd. Up to 4th on the blue lights. Right, so round here, we are fully on the throttle, still on the throttle. We're coming up to what I like to call brown pants corner in a second. You'll see why. We are still fully on the throttle here. We do not brake until we're just about to go through the cherry picker thing on the left-hand side. Just as that is coming out of shot, going off your monitor. I'm going to brake briefly up to about 50%, leaving it in 4th gear. Keeping some maintenance throttle on, taking a whole ton of curb, and then fully back on the throttle, still in 4th gear, drift down. Now we're looking for the 2 marker on the left-hand side. Once we get to that, we're going to go into one of the most complicated corners on the schedule. So we're in 4th gear. I'm braking briefly up to about 70%. And now I'm alternating between throttle and brake just to try and balance the car around here. You can see I'm doing some opposite lock to keep it going in a straight line, dropping it down into 3rd and then into 2nd. And now I'm building back up on the throttle, turning as steeply in as possible to the right hand side. Just letting it plough through. Up to third, up to fourth, and now we're coming up to the hardest corner in the Ford on the entire schedule. So you're going to be defending here, attacking, everything's going to be going on, and then you're going to come up to this corner, which is really, really tricky. So the 2 marker on the right-hand side is going to be our marker here, our braking marker. So as we hit that, I'm going to brake briefly, quite hard in a straight line, but pointing over towards the left-hand side, to the inside of the apex for what is 14. So I'm not on the throttle at all, just on the brake still going in a straight line, reducing the throttle, reducing the brake, dropping it down into third gear. Now you want to be as far over to the left-hand side as possible here without touching the grass. If you touch the grass, you're going to have all sorts of issues. Dropping it down into second. And now I'm increasing the brake again, having let it off. And what you're looking to do is get round to the apex here of what is 14A. And then I wish I was on the throttle now. Unfortunately, I get fully on the throttle a little beat too late. Holding it in, up to third. Now this corner, so there is no brake going into it, but what I'm wanting to do is aim so that my left wheels get on the curb and maybe touch the grass a little bit, and then we're doing a lift. So I'm down to 50%, and then I'm going to give a quick dab of brakes, just up to 50%, leaving it in third gear. Got a whole ton of oversteer coming on here, so as you can see, I have to sort that out, straighten the car out, and then fully back on the throttle. So it's just a quick bit of left hand down to keep the car going in a straight line. And up to fourth. And over and across the line in a 1:59.562. It's a fun lap. It's not the easiest. Just park up here. It's not the easiest one that you're going to have at all this season, but it is going to be one of the ones that is the most fun to actually practice on, because it's a lot of fun. Anyway, we'll now go through it at full speed in chase cam. Okay, here we are in the chase cam. Over on the left-hand side, looking for the 2 marker, brake really hard in a straight line, trail it off, down to second, down to first, back on the throttle, over to the right-hand side, up to third, looking for that light patch, quick dab of brakes, down to second, rev it out here, little brake, get on the throttle, little lift, back on the throttle, stay in the throttle now, all the way. These corners aren't so scary. Turn 9 coming up is quite scary, fully throttled. Don't lift here. Little dab of brakes. Keeping it in fourth. Looking for the 2 marker. Down to third. Down to second. You can exit wider than I did. Well, this is where you're religiously affiliated, and clinging to rosary beads, kissing crosses, touching your Quran, whatever it is you want to do, because this next corner is a killer. Right, and across the line. We'll run it through it one more time from the cockpit with the driving line on, and I will actually put it on, unlike what I did with the V. Righty here, let's run it through final time. From the cockpit view, this is where you'll see how slidey it actually is. You will have to do a bit of counter steering from time to time. That's why you Ford guys love the Ford over the V, isn't it? You're always in the game. Always fighting it. Let me know what you guys feel about going through turn 9 in a second on full throttle. For me, it's petrifying, but such good fun around here. You also see people go flying off into the field over to the right there during the race. Always interesting. Occasionally you'll see them rejoin straight in front of you now. By the way, if any of you guys play Helldivers 2, I've just downloaded it, so let me know your usernames in the Discord, and I'll squad up. Sorry, in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Sambo iRacing. I'll see you again next week for the track guide of Laguna for the final week of the season.